It's your boy Codehova, Fly Combinator. We're continuing on with Pimpin' Swift. We're going to continue on with arrays. In this one, we're going to talk about its elements, the elements of an array. All right, so here we have a constant value of strings, which is an empty array of strings, and we have ints, which is an empty array of ints, of numbers, right? So when we have a situation like this, now let's add some numbers into ints, for instance. So what we do is we say ints, we call out the value of that array, and then we press dot, and then we're going to append. You see, it's already knowing that we're going to do something. So we're going to append a new element in there. So we're going to append the value of 5 because, always we got 5 on it. So it's saying, yo, you cannot use a mutating member because you cannot mutate this ints value because it's a let. So we need to make it mutable, because if we declare when we declare an array, it's exactly the same as what we have dealt with in the previous videos. When it is a let, it cannot be altered. So let's fix this by making this into a variable. So once we do that, we will now see that ints has the value of 5 inside. All right. So again, we have declared that this is just going to be made up of ints. And in that case, it's like if we try to say ints append 5.0, it's going to tell you, you can't do this because we're expecting the type of ints only, not of doubles. Okay, so that's a good thing. It keeps our code safe. So we're going to deal with how do we remove elements? So ints.remove at. But you see, it's saying remove at. Let's say we put in a 5. Right? I mean, we put in a 5, let's remove that 5. So if I put in 5 here, let's see what happens. There's an error, because again, the index is out of range. If we're removing the element at index 5, that means there's 6 items in this array. But as you can see, since we only add in a single element, this ints value only contains one element at the index of 0. So let me just let this load. But in the meantime, it's like, how do we remove the element? What this function is looking for, it's looking for the index to remove it at. So we're just going to delete this. And what we want to do is let index of 5. And we're going to call ints dot index of. See, so we have this function right here, and it's going to return the first index where the specified value appears in the collection. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for the value of 5, and as you can see, index of 5 is at the index value of 0. So if we were to remove this, if we wanted to take this 5 out, what we're going to do is we're going to say ints remove at. Okay, removes and returns the element at the specified position. So let's remove it, and we're going to put in index of 5. But just for now, we're going to put in the bang operator. I'll explain it a little more in depth in a future video when we talk about optionals, but we're going to remove this. And if we call ints after we run these two functions, we're going to see that it's empty. So just to clarify it in another situation, let's say we had names, all right, and we're going to open bracket, and we're going to say Joe, and then we're going to have J, and then we're going to have Nas. Okay, So we have the names of 3 values, and let's change it to a variable so that we could edit it by adding values and also removing values. So we have an array of 3 strings. Cool. How do we add values in? We append into the array. So the array is names.append. All right. And then we're going to add in Gucci. All right. So once we do that, we'll see that the array is now updated to Joe, Jay, Nas, and Gucci. And like I mentioned before, arrays are ordered in the way that you manipulate them, in the way that you create them. So because we are appending, we're adding Gucci to the end of the list. All right. So that's how we're going to append a string into an array of strings. How do we remove J? So again, names.remove at, all right, it's right here. It's telling us that it's going to require an int. So it's not like we're going to put in J into here. All right. It's bugging out. It's saying, yo, we're looking for an int, not a string. So because we're dealing with an array, we're dealing with indexes. Indexes are the order in where these items are. So the array, the way it works, it's saying if you want to add something, sure, you could tell me the string value. I'll do that. I'll add it for you. I'm just going to add it at the end of the list. But when it's saying that, yo, I want to remove something, the array is telling you I need to know where the index of this item is at for me to remove it. So what we do is we have to find the index. So let index equal names.index of. All right. And then we're going to put in the string. So let's put in J. All right. So it's at J is at index 1. So names.remove at index of index. But let's just put in the bang operator for now, because if you don't put in the exclamation mark, it's going to be like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Because right now, this right here is what you call an optional. We're going to talk about it in a future video. But as you can see, even with this auto suggestion of help that Xcode is given, it's saying that value of optional type array.index. All right. It's an optional number. It's an optional int. It's unwrapped. Did you mean to use the bang or the question mark? So let's just fix it. And this is how it's going to rock. Okay. So if we type out names, we'll see that J has been removed from the list. Okay. So this won't work right now in this case, because if we put in J's name in a different case, this isn't going to work. It's going to be like, yo, this index is nothing. Because if I block this out, there is going to be no value of lowercase j, j. So anyways, let's just make that uppercase J so that Xcode works. But this is how we're going to add and remove elements from an array. You dig? Let's get this bag. It's Pimpin' Swift. It's your boy Codehova.